really hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more fantastic music content just like this. Welcome to the Need to Know Music Show with me, Ronan McManus, here on Switchbox TV. And today I'm joined by the frontman of Dallas country band 1100 Springs, who are enjoying their 14th release in 20-plus year career. Please welcome Matt Hillyer. How you doing?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Good to see you. It's good to hear from somebody over the pond. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So how's life here over there?
We're in Texas, and if you watch the news at all, you know
Yeah.
that Texas is a real hot spot right now. So and it's very strange, just like it is for everybody all over the world. These are crazy times. And you just got to figure out a way to navigate these kind of waters, you know. So
Yeah.
everything is kind of like, I think a lot of folks around here kind of loosened up and opened up, debatably maybe more than they should have,
Yeah.
around about Memorial Day of last year. And but now, of course, with cold and flu season coming in, and just these numbers are spiking, and all this stuff, kind of shutting down a little bit more again, like in my opinion they kind of should, just to try to get this whole virus thing under wraps. But other than that, we're just trying to stay safe and stay home and not drive each other nuts and, you know, kill each other. But
That's a challenge in itself.
right, exactly. Yeah, it's a crazy time. And I tell you, this year, I know, and I'm guessing that most people can relate. It's just that I know I've reached out to friends more this year than I ever have in my whole life. So that's a good thing. You know,
There's
that's
definitely been some positives to come out of the year, and I think it's reassessing, just a chance to sort of everyone kind of to sort of look up and look around, and because you get so into what you're doing all the time, and especially as artists, you kind of constantly thinking about what am I doing, what shows am I playing, what am I recording, what we're writing, and you kind of your head down all the time,
yeah.
and there's sort of chance to go, okay, there's no gigs, there's no shows, nothing live. This what's the rest of this life all about?
Exactly. Yeah, and there have been some real positives to come out of it. One of the biggest positives that happened early on for me and a lot of the Texas singer-songwriter friends that we have that are in the sort of same scene is that, instantly everybody got online and started doing stuff like what we're doing right now, trying to figure all that out and buying a new microphone and an interface and all of this stuff, and trying to figure out how to work it, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've got this thing because I was doing my interviews with AirPods in,
Yeah.
and then my 7-year-old daughter borrowed them, so that was that. So I had to buy a new microphone. So I've got this thing now, which is kind of good. It's kind of pushed me into being a bit more technical with the whole thing. But
Yeah.
that's been a learning curve for us all, I think.
Yeah. And well, when you're running a computer, it's always a good move. Like the iPhone audio from the microphone on that is actually pretty darn good.
It
Well,
is for what it
It's
is,
it's
considering
been
it's a
hard,
phone.
it's been kind of hard to beat, like really. But one thing that's been good that instantly sort of came about was some friends of mine and I kind of on Merle Haggard's birthday. One thing we always like to do when we do these festivals together, and the real show for us happens after the show. There's a big festival that happens in Colorado every year that's not happening obviously this year, called Music Fest, and everybody in our scene goes there, and it's fun because we can just sort of hang out, and if you like to ski, you can ski. But everybody from our scene pretty much is there having a good time and having drinks and stuff like that. When the day is over and the shows are done, we'll always wind up in somebody's hotel room and eventually just be playing songs back and forth. And it's hardly ever actually our songs because we're all so tired of our own songs. We always seem to gravitate and land on Merle Haggard's music because everybody knows those songs and we love them so much. And so we call those the Hag-Offs. People call them, Merle till you hurl. Uh, but but yeah, so on his birthday last year, we decided to do a virtual Hag-Off, and So me and Courtney Patton and Jason Eady and Max Stalling, Randy Rogers, and Wade Bowen, and just a handful of full of us decided to do that. So we would go on Facebook and do Facebook Live, and people would follow from one profile to the next. And it
Brilliant.
was fun, and everybody really responded well to it. And unfortunately, the next week before the next, it was on a Monday, and before the next Monday, John Prine passed away. And that just hit us hard, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that was, you know, one of the first like famous people that really, really mattered to us a lot that actually died from symptoms of COVID-19. And so we just decided to do another one, and we've been doing it every Monday ever since. And eventually it became a thing to where the fans loved it. We tribute a different artist every week. Like last night, we tributed Hal Ketchum, was, you know, a great country artist from the 90s, and also kind of friendly with a handful of the folks that are on the group. But throughout of all of it, the crowd was digging it so much. They're like, well, how can we tip you guys? Because we didn't have any kind, we were just doing it for fun, you know, but it was really getting traction. And so, well, we're not really doing it for the money. But so what we wound up doing was setting it up to be a nonprofit, so that basically if people want to donate money, they can donate to the Venmo, and then it just goes and it just builds and builds until, you know, someone from our scene or somebody who really needs help, we can help
Yeah.
them out. So
Fantastic.
so that's been a really positive thing. There's just stuff like that, you know. You don't get to go do a whole bunch of gigs, but you get creative with it, and that goes back to kind of what I was talking about just reaching out to your friends and you sort of pulling them close, because we're all in this, you know, that cliche, we're all in this together. We kind of, yeah, we are.
Well, it's kind of also musicians getting to see other musicians play is something that's kind of been new for me because I'm always singing or gigging myself.
Right.
So I don't get to see other people singing, and I'm sick of hearing me singing. So this is going to give us a chance to sort of, you know, the only way to really do it properly is to start to team up, and then it makes it more fun as well. But then you get to see other people sing, which is amazing for me.
Yeah,
So
and
obviously,
you also get to see the inside of other people's houses.
well, I'm liking yours. You've got
Something
some
really
cool
interesting.
guitars on the wall here now behind us now. This is
Oh man,
fantastic.
yeah, I got too many guitars, that's for sure. I appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
have to sort of just lean mine up against the sofa so it looks a little less like it's just in the front room, but just to sort of add some sort of musical element to it. But there you are,
Right.
yeah.
Well, see, this is my office. It started out obviously as my office, but since my wife has been working from home, at a certain point, like before she was working in the main common room, and eventually that's just a, you know, that's just a pain in the butt. Because if I want to watch a TV show and I have to pause for her to take a phone call, it's just like eventually I was just like, why don't you just take my office and you can have it? But it's just those are the things that drive us nuts in this whole deal. It's just like I remember seeing a show. I know it was like Dr. Phil. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah, I know Dr. Phil, yeah.
sort of, you know, pseudo psychologist type TV show host. And and he sort of deals out country wisdom, sort of, you know.
Yeah.
And I think he said something when the pandemic started. He said something to the effects, it's like, man, I think there's going to be a baby boom when this whole thing's over. I'm like, well, I mean, that is possible. But I also think you're going to have I mean, if you're looking into being a divorce attorney, I mean, that's
Now's your
now's
your
your
time.
chance, right? If you have any foresight to figure it out, that's the time, you know?
Marriage counseling certainly first, and then
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Knock on wood. So far, so good. At least my wife's job is doing okay. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I was wanted to. Well, you talked about the Monday night things you've been doing online. Well, Monday's been a big night of the week for you, because with the band, you started doing a Monday night sort of residency.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I did the same thing with my band, and it's great having a Monday night because your whole weekend, and then it kind of ends up. It could be sort of tails off the weekend, doesn't it? Nicely, and it's kind of it's
It
otherwise quiet night for people. So people,
right.
yeah,
It does. And for us, it was interesting. and I have to get your take on this, but for us, it was interesting because the band just really started because it started with me and our bass player who have been in bands before that together for a long time. And another guy named Richie Vasquez, who was playing at the time, was playing drums for a guy named Jesse Dayton. And we would all be doing different gigs on the weekends and stuff. And we just thought it'd be cool because we know all these country songs to get a little residency and just goof off, maybe make a little extra beer money. And for, just like everything else, like at first when you start, it was pretty bad. Because you just have to remember the songs. But it started to get better, and it turned into like a service industry night, because all of our friends that were in bars and who were waiters and bartenders and stuff like that, that's their Friday, Saturday night, Monday, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So it created a whole scene. Like, oh, well, we knew all these people from working the clubs anyways, and they're like, oh, you guys got your little country thing, we'll come and check it out. And they would just come and just get hammered and spend all the money they made in tips listening to us hack through these country songs. But eventually we made enough money to make a cassette tape. We sold enough cassette tapes to make t-shirts, and sold enough t-shirts to make our first CD, and here we are.
Fantastic.
Was that kind of a similar deal for you? I mean, did you find that like the people that would come out would be kind of these service industry types?
Yeah, we kind of had that. We had sort of bar stuff from the pubs we played on the weekends, but also we had we had like, because I was playing Irish music, and there was a lot of sort of hurling and Gaelic football teams who would play a game on the Sunday, go out drinking, and they'd still be out. So we had those guys as well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then kind of nurses from the local hospital. Kind of that's a good mix. So
Oh,
we
that's
so we that was our kind of we kind of had to. Someone put a big sort of concrete barrier in front of us, like you'd find in a car park, like you'd sort of a crash barrier sort of thing,
right.
because it was just people just falling around drunk.
Yeah.
So we kind of, to stop them falling into us, we had this sort of big concrete barrier in front of us. So it was, but it was great because you sort of found that on a Monday night there was no other show in town. Nothing else was going on. So anybody who was out, anybody who wanted a night out, they all came to us. So it was good. But also we had a chance of, all our songs were played for the first time in that gig. That was always
Right.
where we tried any song that was written or a cover that we'd learnt. We never rehearsed. We didn't need any because we had our Monday night, which was kind of, we just tried things out. Sometimes fall flat on our face, but it was like a safe space for all the
Yeah.
music, for anything you wanted to do.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Because I mean, when it starts, it's just kind of like, oh, well, it's Monday, it's what else you got to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and for us, we had those gigs that we had to play were typically they wanted us to go from 9 to 1. So it was a good long gig,
Yeah.
which those, you wind up hating those gigs. And I don't think anybody who wants to see your band, if they really want to see your band, I don't care what kind of fans they say they are, they don't want to watch a show that long. It's not that good of a show.
No,
You can't
it's
you can't
not.
put it
It's too
together.
long, man. That's too
It's
long.
too much. It's too much. But if you're a dance band and you're getting your start and you're doing like what you're saying, which is what we call cutting our teeth,
Yeah.
and you're learning how to do it, and you're building this set list that's supposed to keep people on the dance floor from 9 to 1 and sell as many drinks as possible, that's what you got to do,
Yeah.
and you're always better for it. You're always a better band because of it. But boy, when you get to that point where you just kind of say, yeah, I don't think so.
It's
Right.
more getting off the sofa to go to it is the hardest thing.
Right.
Getting out the door, the first step out the door is always the hardest one. After that's a breeze.
Yeah. Well, that's such an interesting thing that you say, because I mean, I know my wife rolls her eyes at just about everything I do, but one of the things that I should mention is just like every single gig that I have, and I love what I do, and I'm sure you can relate to this because of what you
Yeah.
just said. Every gig that I have, no matter if I know it's going to be a good one that I love, like an hour or so before it's time to leave, I'm just sitting there going, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. She's like, what do you mean? You love it? I was like, yeah, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be good. But I don't want to leave this spot right now. Like it just goes to the fact that, I heard some interview that, I don't know, it was Jerry Seinfeld was talking to somebody and he says, man, nobody wants to go and do anything. There's a lot of truth to that.
There is, yeah.
Even if you love what you do, you don't necessarily want to go do it,
I used to, because you were getting out the door and people are coming in from work or whatever, and you think, I just feel jealous of those guys who are just about to go into the house, sit on their sofa and just watch some telly and do nothing. You think, wouldn't it be nice to just be that guy for once, and not the guy going out to go to a bar and sing to a lot of drunk people. But then when you have those nights off, you're sort of sitting and going, God, I wish I was out gigging. I wish I was out playing some music. So the grass is always greener, I think, is the thing.
And the perspective is 100% clear right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because I don't know, most wives, I think, share this trait, is that nothing drives a wife crazier than walking into the room and seeing their husband doing nothing. And most husbands, I think, that would rather do nothing than anything. And so right now, with my jobs kind of being gone, I mean, there's still plenty of work to be done, and there's always work to be done around the house. Whew. But
I'm actually isolating this week because someone I've been doing some part-time work at school because there's been no gigs, and someone at the school got tested positive. So I've been isolating in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't go anywhere. Listen, she's so mad at me because I can't go anywhere or do anything. I'm like, also it means I can't do housework, but that's fine.
Right. Well, listen, my wife finds something. There's a certain look that I get when I'm just laying in bed watching my favorite TV show, and she walks into the room from the office where she's been doing work, real work, she walks into the room and she sees me sitting there, and she's just, it's a silent judgment that happens. She's 100% right. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
she's 100% right, because I'm not doing anything, But she walk in and just going.
And there's always that thing where nothing's done in the house what you're meant to do, and then you go, but I wrote a song.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of Jack and the Beanstalk. I got some magic beans, it's absolutely, that's why nothing's done, because you had a song going on.
Oh my gosh, that is the best excuse that you could ever possibly find. So many times when have a writer's session, just drinking beer, that's it. But I've been doing that too. Like that's another thing that I got into, is one of these songwriter groups when we have to write a song every single week. And it's
oh, great.
Yeah, it's as you can probably imagine, it's kind of daunting.
Do you get parameters for like what to talk about? Do you sort of all get the same homework?
Yeah, they give you a prompt.
Right.
It's just one word, and it doesn't have to be in the title. It doesn't have to be in the chorus or anything. Maybe you just put it one place in the song, and it really doesn't have to be in there at all, even if it's just something that gets your juices flowing and gets things moving. But it's supposed to be a brand new song, not a co-write, and it's due on Wednesday at midnight. You got to send a recording of it and the lyrics, and so that's
what's that been like? How long have you been doing it? How many songs have you done?
They've been doing it for a while, and I just jumped in on the group. So I think this will be my third week doing it, and it's cool. I so far I dig it. Every week I sit there and think, all right, well, hopefully they'll give me a prompt that it's a word that I can just slide into something that I already have started that's not quite finished. The way it's just, and I haven't done it yet, just because I'll get there and I'll be like, you know what, man, it'd be better just to write a new song, like I don't like looking back. I'd rather look forward with it, even if and I'm sure at some point I'll pull a sneaky move and do that, but I'm sure
there might be a line or two nicked from. It's all right if you steal from yourself. It's not plagiarism. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, no, so far it's been pretty cool, but it's daunting. It just kind of lives in the back of your head, just going, okay, Wednesday's coming, dude. You better get it together. And some of these guys are really good, which is good, because it makes you kind of.
Do you get to everybody else's songs as well? Is that the whole
everybody?
Point?
Yeah, there's a group email chain that just kind of keeps going week after week,
Ah, cool.
and everybody sends their little demos and the lyrics on Wednesday. So
So,
tomorrow, yeah.
so you feel you got to up your game, is what you're just about. Sorry, I interrupted you as you were saying
Yeah,
that.
no, that's it. Like, I mean, you know, and that's been a really cool thing, and that just goes back to kind of again what I was saying as far as like, you know, I've been making more friends and getting closer to people since this whole pandemic started. People that I, you know, didn't know as well before, because we're all just we are our own outlet, and stuff like this is how we stay sort of sane, because we can't go and do a lot of gigs. Although people keep calling and asking, I don't get it. Like I have a buddy that called me just a minute ago. It's like, hey, we're doing our big Christmas party. You still want to come? It's like, no, no, I love you, but
But
and I don't think that you should.
yeah,
But whatever, you know,
yeah.
there's a lot of insanity going on, you know.
But that's interesting that you've been doing the songwriting circle thing, because it's something that's been interesting me more. I've never done those kind of things, like even done like I've not really sat down and done co-writing sessions or anything like that. But it's something that's I've started to spark my interest this year, because I've just been reevaluating everything a bit more. But it's not like you're short of material. You've been releasing so many so many albums and so much material. I mean, I think there was 2 years in the past where you released 2 albums in 1 year. It's not
That
like
has Yeah, that's happened, I mean, that's been a challenge over the years, and we really were pushing them out. Steve, our bass player, and I have really we've been business partners in this whole thing for whatever it is since we started when I was in high school. And and it really I think where he was coming from with it was more, and I'm sure you can understand this, was just that having a new record was necessity to book shows for him, because he would
right,
be in charge of like sort of overseeing the bookings and things like that. um, so having a new record, what we were trying to do is have a new record every February. That way we could start booking for the whole year, really, until we released another record. And I mean, you know, me personally, I think there were probably times when I was like, man, can we maybe move the schedule to like a record every 2 years? There are more songs on this record that we could actually push to radio if we wanted to, but it matters to keep that momentum going, and it's certainly like a good catalyst. It's hard to keep that schedule up,
yeah.
but yeah, you know, I mean, that's it's if you're not focused on it, if you don't make yourself do it, then you know, creatives will just sit there and just sort of twiddle their thumbs,
And
you know.
sit there and get eye rolls from the wife.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't invite that on if you don't have to.
But I'm
But yeah.
writing a song. It looks like you're watching Netflix. It's a song about Netflix. Yeah.
But the new album sounds great.
Thank you
Congratulations on
very much.
that.
Thank you.
Particularly Fairweather Friend was one that really stuck out to me, because when you go around the different solos of all the different the fiddle player is such a beautiful some beautiful playing in that, and the
Oh,
sort of
thank
then the guitar solo, and there's different sort of solos that go on, and it's just beautiful sound, and it's great, really well produced and everything. So what was the sort of, tell us a little bit about the album and the making of it and all that kind of stuff.
Well, this is the second album. It's called Here 'Tis, and it's the second album that we've released. And we had a genius business plan. We released a record in January, just in time for a global pandemic starting in March. So thumbs up. What not to do. But no, yeah, this is the second album for this lineup, which this we kind of bumped the lineup up to a 6-piece, because I had been doing I made a solo record
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
before that, and 1100 Springs kind of took a step back, and some people thought we broke up.
There's like a 4 or 5 year gap, wasn't there, where you just did
Yeah,
something
we
else?
just kind of took a step back. I think that to a degree, some of the schedule we were keeping was kind of burning us out, and our fiddle player and his wife wanted to have a kid, and we just kind of stepped back from it a little bit. We still played some shows, but it got to a point where we were playing enough shows that if we were going to keep, we were either going to break up and just say, all right, that's it. Um, or if we were going to keep playing shows, we needed to make another record, because it just, you couldn't just keep going out and doing the same stuff over and over and over again. There's still a lot of material, but you need new stuff. People want new stuff, and we needed new stuff.
Yeah.
But so I took some of the guys from my solo band that I had been using, and I folded it into 1100 Springs. We swapped out for a different steel player, and we added another guitar player and vocalist. And we made a record, and at a friend of ours' studio who we like a whole bunch. But what we ran into was something that we've run into before, and it's not for any sort of lack of ability on their part. They're good engineers and producers, but with our knowledge of the kind of country music that we make and all the different styles, there's a shorthand that goes on with the guys in the band about sounds and things like that, that unless you're well versed and have spent that many years studying that style of country music, it's hard to communicate how to get to that sound. And we had a place at our fiddle player's house that we call the Cadillac barn, because he parks his grandmother's Cadillac. It's just it's like a big sort of garage barn type thing. We turned it into a bar. We built a bar, and we started putting all these posters from 20 years of playing up all over the wall. And it really started, we built a little stage and stuff. And if you go to our YouTube channel, we've done all kinds of interviews with our friends and played songs out there. It's worth checking out. There's some good stuff on there.
Brilliant. What a space.
It's really cool. It's a really cool place to be, and it's gotten cooler and cooler. Now there's just too much kitsch. There's too much brewery on it, and it's like you can't hardly. Our fiddle player sent me a message day before yesterday. He's like, I got some new stuff, and he bought a vintage poker table. I was like, well, man, that's really cool, but that's just more stuff, man. We'll have to do work there. But so we decided that something that we've been dabbling with since we started, which is recording our own music, was something that we really probably should actually try to do. Because if we could make our own recordings that were, could be commercially viable, then we wouldn't have to worry about, we could finish each other's sentences a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we moved the gear in there and set up our recording gear, and that's where we recorded it. And it wasn't without its challenges, because it's not exactly climate controlled very well in there. So in the summertime it was rough, and then when it was cold, it was tough to do. But the good news is that we were able to get a lot of sounds that we really dug a whole lot out of that room. And the record, really, Steve Berg, our bass player, did most of the engineering and a lot of the producing. He and I and Chad, the guitar player, as far as the production notes and things like that, we all put our heads together on that. But Steve did a lot of the heavy lifting on actually recording it. So it was kind of a win for all of us, just because we went into it thinking, well, this will be an experiment, because this is not a studio, and we're doing this ourselves finally for the first time. But man, I'm glad to hear the kind words that you say, because
I mean, it sounds great. You've certainly worked. I mean, that's what a freedom that you've just afforded yourself there.
Yeah, we did take it to a different mixing engineer, just because when it comes down to doing that, there's just stuff we don't have,
And also, you need another pair of ears is always good.
Yeah,
it's also good to sort of pass it on to that next stage. Because when you're in the recording process and you've done everything every single day, every single bit of it, it's kind of good to sort of go to someone else. Okay, put that together.
By then, you're too close to it.
you're
can't
prejudicing it then almost with what you've when you're recording it, you've got an idea of how that's going to go, and maybe that might not be the right the right thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You get too close to it, and then yeah, having somebody else being able to listen to it and help with all that is good. And we used a guy out of Fort Worth, Greg White at SG Studios, which we've all kind of done some work with him on different projects over the years, and uh, he's got a good knowledge of where we're coming from as far as like he does a lot of country stuff, and he's done a lot of traditional country stuff too. So that's a big help as well. So and now moving forward with recordings, it's a real head scratcher because
Yeah,
um clearly we don't have any plans, but we are trying to like a lot of people trying to just figure out how to navigate you know remote recording,
yeah,
um and then sending it off to somebody else to do their part in different rooms. And when nobody's in the room together, we have a project that we just sort of started working on. Steve and I kind of heading up some of the production for a band called the Squeeze Box Bandits,
cool,
who are also on our same record label, State Fair Records. And it's a sort of Tex-Mex country with an accordion and a guitar and
great,
reminiscent of the Texas Tornadoes.
okay,
Um, and they're really a really cool band. And before this whole pandemic happened, it was a conversation of us like, okay, so we're gonna make this record, and really hyped on it. We're still hyped on the project, but it's definitely turned into a little bit more of a head scratcher as far as how to move forward.
yeah,
But those kinds of challenges are I mean, everybody's going through that right now. So I'm still excited about the whole project, especially just because once you sort of if when it's done, we're looking back on it and feeling proud like we do about our record, then we'll know that okay, well that can be done too, because it's a it's a challenge to try to figure out how to get it all done, and how it's it's difficult. If I can get to my point, it's difficult, as you would know, when you're not in the same room with somebody.
yeah.
You know,
It's
producing is difficult that way.
it's how do you create that moment, that vibe, that kind of there's a certain thing that human beings playing music together creates this unknown kind of thing that's in there. That's immeasurable, you know, and it's hard to kind of to get that with the remote thing. And you know, when you having that space to play together in the future, it's going to be great to have that to be able to record in there where you can just play together and I speak to a lot of people who are doing more of that kind of recording, but I mean, trying to do layering remotely from different rooms and trying to create that human part of it is gonna that's the challenge I think for all of us at the moment.
Yeah, and also just because you have to be a catch-all too. Like especially like the guys that we're working with, the Squeeze Box Bandits, are a great band, but I don't know. Like we've got more experience making recordings than they do,
Yeah,
and when we have worked and watched some great producers help us, and the way that they hear stuff that you don't hear, and until you watch somebody do it and realize, oh man, their ears are all the way on, like they're
yeah,
listening for that one little thing that's missing, or that thing that's out of place. I mean, they're microscopically with their ears
yeah,
catching what needs to be caught. That to me seems to be what I would say could possibly be the biggest challenge about trying to work remotely. It's just like, because when things happen in real time, uh, you know, you're in the room intently listening to it. It's easier to fix on the spot.
yeah,
If you hear it and you go, what is that? What was that? That ain't right.
yeah.
Let's get that. Whereas, you know,
Going
we'll see.
back and going back and asking somebody to re-record something for a little moment when you can sort of hammer things into shape in a rehearsal space, But to do everything by recording, you go back to someone going, that thing you just recorded, can you just do it all again, but with one slight difference? That's
Right.
tough. Well, it's hard to drop in then if you're doing it remotely. It's hard to drop in and just fix a little fix. It's easier just to do the whole thing. It's got to be frustrating to have to work that way.
We'll see. You know, we will see. So far, what we're really in the beginning stages of it. So I did get into the room with their band, a big room where we're all spaced out and everybody had
Cool.
masks on and stuff. And we made some real basic recordings of the demos to some of their songs. And from then it goes to our drummer's studio. He's playing on their record, and he's so professional. Christian, he does remote drumming for people all over the world. So
Right. Yeah.
this is just a walk in the park for him. So so really right now where it stands is he's going to do all the drums, and then we'll send it to the bass player. And then after that, I got to figure it out with
Yeah.
with the
At
rest
least
of
you've
the
got
band.
the bottom layer in a way. It's the main thing. You've got the kind of the base of it. Then
Yeah,
how you build it from there.
you build a bed and let the kids jump on it, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting. It certainly seems like a challenge, and we're walking into it sort of looking at it like a bit of an experiment to see how it's going to work. But I welcome that because, I mean, like we've been talking about, the amount of work we're losing out on, we need to keep ourselves busy somehow, you
Well,
know?
it's great to be the other side of it as well. Be the person on the other side of the desk.
Oh, I'm so excited about these guys, man, because the band is so cool. And our band has had such an affinity for that music of Doug Somm, that's sort of San Antonio Tex-Mex country blues, that sort of melting pot that came out of San Antonio of all these different styles, um, has always been something that influenced us in a very sort of heavy way. Like from listening to our stuff, what I always hope that people can hear is our influences, and then to hear our voices coming through the Bakersfield, and our interpretation of the Bakersfield sound, or Western swing, or the blues or rockabilly, or any and all of it. That's always been sort of our mission, is just to sort of bring all that together, ball it up in our own kind of way, and then throw it out there. And so these guys, like, we always get so excited about bands that embrace that Tex-Mex country sound. There was another band, and they're still gigging and still great friends of ours, called the Tejas Brothers. Which, if you haven't seen or heard them, check them out. They've made some great records and have some great songs. And so, like, anytime we hear anything like that, we get super jazzed about it. So this
Yeah.
Squeeze Box Bandits thing that we're getting involved with those guys is exciting to us, just because we love that stuff so much, and we really really believe in the band. And what, like we've told the guys moving into the project, is basically saying, hey, look, we need this to be the best thing you guys have ever put out, and I think we can do it. And I think we're gonna, as long as it's not too frustrating, like you say, doing the remote thing, I'm real excited about it.
Yeah. Well, it
It-
sounds like a really exciting thing to be doing, because then you kind of, it's something new for you as well, because it's not your stuff, something different, and that brings its own challenges and its own responsibilities as well. So, but it sounds like
yeah,
it's
you have a
ready for it.
responsibility to them for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to let them down, uh, by, you know, it's a tricky deal with to sit in the producer's chair. The best producer that we ever worked with was Lloyd Maines, and he's produced so many records and Grammys and all this stuff, and he's so good at bringing performances out of people. Even when, we all get to those places in the studio where we're hammering away at this one particular thing, and for whatever reason it's just not
Yeah.
working.
God. Yeah.
And so if you're in the producer's chair, it that's a real trick. That's a real trick in patience and belief, as far as like just being able to, instead of like getting frustrated about how many takes you have to do, just to know and be able to say, you got this. We're gonna
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
thinking we're not, because we are. We're gonna be here until we get it. But you got this. You can do it. So that's a real trick to learn. But that kind of encouragement and sort of positive feeling about it, when you finally do get it, it feels great. So we've done some work in the studio with these guys already, just on a sort of side project thing, with a song by a band called the Cadillac Tramps. They were a punk band in Southern California in the mid '90s that we liked a lot. And Steve came up with this project of doing this song and adding accordion to it. So we kind of got our feet wet getting into the studio with them already, and I'm
Cool.
excited. It should be really cool. I'm looking forward to putting the whole project together, even if it's piece by piece.
Looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good luck with all that. Yeah.
yeah. But
Fantastic.
what's really cool is that I should give a plug and a thumbs up to our record label, State Fair Records. And that was one of the catalysts for our latest record, and us really wanting to do it, is because State Fair Records is this label in North Texas that was picking up on a lot of young, talented musicians in Dallas, Texas, Dallas and Fort Worth, in that area. And we kind of got wind of it, and we're really digging on a lot of the artists that they had, and basically kind of went to them and said, look, if there's a thing happening, if y'all are cultivating a sort of scene around your label in North Texas, we want to be part of it, because we've been in this scene forever. And, there's so much great music in this huge state of Texas. But I've been a big believer in particularly the North Texas scene, because everybody talks about Austin, and Austin's got a lot of great talent. But from my perspective, there's just as much really great talent that's been coming out of North Texas for years and years and years. And so State Fair said, yeah, bring it on. Let's make a record. And they've just been doing great things for great people. Joshua Ray Walker is a brilliant songwriter, the Ottoman Turks. He's also in that band, signing up with, the list of folks that they got, the Squeeze Box Bandits, the list of people, our friend John Pedigo, it goes on and on. It's just a whole group of people going, man, you guys are really just sort of snatching all our friends up here. What about us?
Can we get looking? Yeah.
And they're like, well, you guys have been making your own records for years and years. It's like, yeah, but why don't you make it for us?
That's
It's a good
brilliant.
deal, man. It feels like a good family, because they really, really, really care about a lot of talented music coming out of our area, and not just country music. It's just all different styles, and cultivating a whole thing. It feels really good.
We do always ask for recommendation at the end of the show, so we've kind of done that now. So we'll put a link to the record label, to their website, State Fair Records, and to all the bands that you've mentioned. We'll put links to them in the description, so people can go and check them out. But is there any other recommendations? Any other bands you think people should check out that they need to know?
So many. There are so many. It's been blowing me away in the last few years. It's this weird thing. I used to be the youngest dude in every single room I was in. And then, one day you look around, you're like, I'm not that guy anymore. And you've been waiting for that forever, back when you couldn't buy beer. Now all of a sudden, but that's one thing that similarly kind of has happened in the scene. It's just like, we've been around and around for so long. And then all of a sudden you sort of look up, and there's a whole new crop of really talented people. All those folks that I mentioned on State Fair Records, I encourage everybody to check out. There's a lot of great music that they're putting out right now. Another guy and I know that, like, I could go on forever because there's so many, but another guy that is coming out of Fort Worth and has been doing some touring with Culture Wall and a whole lot of other folks. It's a guy named Vincent Neil Emerson. and we cut one of his songs on our, not this last record, but the record before it. The record's called The Finer Things in Life. And he's just a brilliant writer, great guitar player. So that's a guy I would check out. I mean, I feel like I could go on, but honestly, if you check out
That's cool.
Vincent Neil,
Yeah,
and the folks on State Fair Records, and of course, check out our new record and all that good stuff.
of course. And
Um,
where can people keep in touch with what you're doing?
well, I mean, it's funny because it's like a few months ago, me and Steve were talking. It's like, well, I mean, I'm trying to keep up with new content and posts, but there's not really much going on. It's like, well, man, just do what you can when you can, and people will appreciate it. But you can check out our Facebook. Our website is mainly just for our, touring schedule. And that's not really
It's
happening.
not happening though.
Yeah. You can catch up with me on my various Facebook accounts, whether it's my personal or my professional. Instagram, all the outlets. I guess I don't really know about TikTok. I think I'm too old for that.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would do. Just seems like people just do weird dances.
Well, that's what that was my thought. That was my thought, that the one thing that's going to come out of lockdown will be bad TikTok dance dads. There's going to be new skill, like
No, nobody's looking for that for me.
No, exactly. That was my conclusion as well.
No,
I think nobody believed that one.
Yeah. No, but every once in a while I'll throw a tweet up or something like that on my personal one, but really mainly Instagram and Facebook. And mainly my internet presence as it stands, as far as Facebook is concerned, is really kind of revolving around the Monday night things.
Cool.
Every now and again I'll get up and do a Facebook live stream. So you just check in with me at on the Facebook, whichever
Excellent.
one. You can follow me up, or I think I'm at that 5,000 mark. So like having friends is, I just wait for people just to drop off.
Just have a cull now and again.
Every couple of weeks, I'll go down to like 4,998. It sounds so lame saying all this stuff, but then I'm just like, okay, who are the two lucky people?
roll up.
Yeah, it's like I have 2 spots.
Form an orderly queue. Yeah.
Right. Nobody's really looking for that. You know what I mean? Watch my numbers go down. Yeah.
So, what would be the sort of the highlight? If you look back over your career, what sort of is there one particular standout moment that you look back and you're just really proud of that, or something that's the highlight that you could pick out?
Well, I tell you, I mean, I'm sure that there are a handful of really special moments that have happened in that long period of time. But oddly enough, if I had to tell the truth, it's more, if I'm looking back, and I've done plenty of that. It's more just thinking about where we started, traveling in these terrible vans that would break down constantly, and sleeping in roadside parks and never, having anywhere to go. But really just, continuing to do it because you love to do it, and traveling all over the place. And then it happens and you don't realize it happens. And then all of a sudden you look around and you're going, man, this is actually a professional outfit now. Our vehicle runs. We're, paying our bills for better or worse. That's such an abstract thing. But when you think about it, when you sort of have lived through, the early years that wind up being the ones that you tell all the stories from, they're all the most interesting stories. And you live through that, and then to get to a point where it's just like, okay, now we have for whatever you want to call it, it's a career. We can continue to do this And then everything after that just seems kind of, even the, even the worst gigs don't seem that bad, because you still get to work, you still get to go do it. You've created this whole thing whereby you get to play with great musicians and meet a whole lot of really great folks. So that's not a specific moment,
No, but
but
I love that answer because you're right. It's like kind of what you set out to do was to be able to keep doing it.
right,
Ultimately, that's really all that you want to do when you start out, is to keep doing this. So to get to a point where you are doing it and it's working and it's afloat and it's steady and
yeah.
you do it, and it's a job. It's not something you're doing on the side. This is something that you're doing. So that's definitely something to be proud of, to have done it to that level.
And it doesn't mean that you still don't wrestle with the idea, because as you say that you always wanted to be able to keep doing it, you get to a certain point where you kind of just, the question starts to turn into, it's like, how long do I keep doing this? you know, like, how long is this sustainable? And then I guess the answer is just as long as you want it to be. But honestly, the biggest I've maintained, and I should say this because I've always believed this, I maintain that the biggest thing, the greatest takeaway that you get from doing really anything, not just music, but music is a really great gig for this, is relationships in life, and that's it. It's not so
Yeah,
much, it's never, I don't know, for some people I guess they feel differently, but for me, it's never so much whatever money you did or did not make, or whatever achievements you were able to put up on the board. It's the relationships, the friendships that you make. You never know where they're going to take you, and you never know which one of the people that you meet is going to be the one that's your lifelong friend that winds up pulling you out of the gutter when you need them to. But they do, and that's worth everything. So that's my 2 cents.
fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. That's
And I'm
brilliant,
glad we got the
brilliant
chance to
answer.
speak today, man. This is really cool. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you,
Likewise.
and it's just great. I mean, I love the fact that you continue making albums, to continue having new material all the time, to continue gigging, and the amount of music there is to. I realized this when I went to sort of research more about you. I was like, there's too much stuff for me to successfully get a grasp on. So I would encourage everybody to go back and find all of your old albums and your solo album too. Um, if this old bones could talk, definitely check that out and just continue doing it, man. And it's an absolute pleasure talking to you
Likewise.
and hearing your story. So
Yeah, likewise, and keep your head up, and you know, someday we'll get back in those terrible, crappy bars that we love so much.
there'll be that moment where you go, I don't want to go out the door again. We'll get to that stage again.
Yeah, right. I don't. I'm curious as to when we'll actually really feel comfortable, but
Yeah.
I don't. But yeah,
I long
so
for the day. I long for the day that I'm sick of it.
yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, and it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Matt.
Take care.
Cheers now.